Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here. Kill Team Balance Dataslate. So, as far as I understand it, this is our first actual balance dataslate, if you will. Obviously, we had the big one in the first FAQ, where we had the big Custodes nerf, but this is now kind of in line with 40k, what they're doing. So let's talk about what has changed. First, okay, quick overview. Hi guys, what's up? They're buffing and nerfing a few different factions: Pathfinders, Kommandos, Space Marines, including Grey Knights, Death Guard, Craft World, 2 World. They are also suggesting that some of the Compendium teams get replaced for balance reasons in tournament play. They've also given us a new core rule. So, I'm going to read through all of this, then I'm going to look at a few of the buffs and nerfs and talk about what that really means. And this is so big, I don't even have time to talk about the Legionary Butcher, which is a real shame, because as you know, when there's news, there's views. But we're going to talk about this news instead. Okay, let's do it. There's a new core rule. I could read it to you, but no. Allow me to summarize. There's no time. Basically, you can't activate more than 2 times in a row without your opponent being able to activate. This was obviously instituted, as we're about to read, due to a worthy cause, and we'll discuss that, but also it's going to take effect for GA2. So, for example, in the future, if there's any sort of activate multiple models, a GA3 could never exist under this new core rule. There you go. So that is good. And also, it's going to stop certain things, like for the Tower Pathfinders, where you're able to chain. Again, we're about to read that. But chaining from the drone controller to a drone, that's your 2 activations. You then can't chain anything else with that ever, whether you use a worthy cause or not. Okay, so that's the overall general core rule. Nice. This will affect other things as well. For example, sisters and novitiates, where I can't remember what that thing is called, but it's essentially the same. If you're within a circle of an objective, you could activate them before blah blah blah. Can't do that. Can't do more than 2. Cool. Now we're going to go bullet point by bullet point, because there's some big issues, Space Marine buffs, Craft World buffs, etc. And we'll discuss just how big they are. So, Pathfinder first. A worthy cause tactical ploy, 2 CP. I think that's fair. Cool. Can only be used once per battle, and only if you don't have initiative. Man, that's, they just, whew, the nerf bat is real, right? So, okay. Can only be used once per battle. Fine. I'm okay with that. Oh, man. Okay, so 2 CP, that's big. And that essentially limits the number of times you could use it anyway to twice per battle. But they then go further to say once per battle. And only if you don't have the initiative, which is good. Because if you had the initiative using worthy cause, I mean, you know, even turn 1 worthy cause, like, you could just napalm bomb the enemy team. Assault Grenadier Pathfinder Operative, delete the final sentence of the Grenadier ability. Now, naturally, we had to go and see what is the final sentence of that. Those grenades that have the limited special rule can be selected for this operative's use twice instead of once. So, I think that's fair. Like, cool. So the Grenadier gets to carry 2 grenades instead of use 2 grenades twice. Nice. Fine. Sounds good. Benefit of 5+ Marker-Light tokens. In the select valid target step of that shooting attack, the enemy operative is treated as if it has an engage order unless it's in cover provided by heavy terrain. Okay. So let's go and find out what a Marker-Light did before, right? That's probably something we need to know. So it used to be in the select valid target step of that shooting attack, the enemy operative is treated as if it has an engage order. So this isn't removing obscurity, this is just allowing you to shoot a model behind cover, essentially. It's giving you a very long range indirect. Now, in a very similar way to... This is actually doing exactly the same thing as Vantage Point now. If the enemy's behind heavy cover, has no effect. Cool. But you will have already removed obscurity if you're at 5+ marker lights. I like this. In theory, I guess. I still don't like removing obscurity. I think that's a big deal. But I guess it's good that they've made this. There is a way to counter this. Fine. Kommando, dynamite equipment can only be selected once per battle. I think that's fair. I don't know if a commando ever... So now, commandos have had 2 nerfs to their little dash dynamite ability thing, right? Now you can only have 1, and it doesn't work with dash. Good, except it had kind of already been nerfed quite heavily after dash was removed, because that allowed an unwieldy grenade to be thrown easily. So, yeah. Cool, fine. Space Marines and Grey Knights. Let me see if I can zoom in a smidge for you. I apologize. Here we go. Space Marines and Grey Knights. Operative selection. Every fire team except Scout and Tactical Marine can take 1 additional warrior. To be clear, a warrior just means their basic unit. So, this means heavy assault intercessors going up to 5 models. All intercessors are going up to 6 models. Same as this now means why would you ever take a Tactical Marine, but whatever. And this includes Death Watch are going up to 6 models. So I suspect what this means is that we're just going to see more Death Watch on the board. If I had to guess, I mean, we already see a lot of Death Watch, and this hasn't changed the relative power levels or the relative narrative interest levels, right? So I suspect we're going to be seeing more Death Watch now that they have an extra member, because 1 extra model is important, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get over to the craft world. Oh, this counts for Grey Knights too, which I think is awesome, because Grey Knights always get left out in the cold, and I love my Grey Knight boys and girls, but they're not strong at the moment, let's just say that. We then go over to the Death Guard. Operative selection, Plague Marine Fire Team can take 1 additional warrior operative. Champion operative is instead of 1 warrior operative, not in addition to. So a little bit confusing. All that means is you get 3 warriors. You get 3 Plague Marines. There you go. So you already got 3 Plague Marines, essentially. Yeah, no, there's no way to run any Plague Marine fire team without having 3 operatives. But now if you take a second fire team as well, you're running 6 Plague Marines instead of 5. Nice. Now it is just a normal warrior, so you're not getting an additional fighter or gunner or heavy gunner pick. But this is needed, this is useful. Good. Although now, when are you ever taking Poxwalkers, you know? I feel like somebody else had this idea and I totally agree with it. I would have really liked to see them do Plague Marine +1, yes. Poxwalkers +2. So you could take a full 10-man warrior squad fire team of Poxwalkers. That would have been ideal, I think. Now it seems like a foregone conclusion which way you're going. We then go over to the craft world. Operative selection, every fire team can take 1 additional warrior operative. This turns the craft world from an 8/9 model team to a 10, 11 or 12 warrior team. Hold on, is that right? You could take 5s. Yes, that's right. So this is cool. This is really good. Yeah, minimum, you're running 10 models. Max, you're running 12. But you could also be running 11. I like it. I like it. As somebody that has played a fair amount of Craft World, they need more models. But I will say, they're an odd faction. And, you know, hey, with Corsairs coming out in a second, who cares? Right? Who cares? We're obviously going to be playing Corsairs. But you could now... I'm just trying to think. 2 extra bodies is really big. Like, that... I would be now a little bit concerned to go up against Craft World, because those 2 extra bodies... Interesting. Interesting. Now, this does mean that when it comes to certain things, they're now in a weird area when it comes to Overwatch, so you're probably not going to be getting Overwatch ever, unless of course you're going against Vetguard, but whatever. Interesting. But apart from Vetguard, you're basically not getting Overwatches. We then get Tomb World. Flayed One operatives add 1 to both damage characteristics of Flare Claws, and Reanimation Protocols tactical deploy 0 CP. Awesome. I think I really like the change to Reanimation Protocols. It did seem weird because you were just guaranteed you always use your 1 CP a turn on Reanimation Protocols. If you don't, you're playing them wrong. That is their entire thing. Good. Quick note. You can only ever use a tactical deploy once per turning point. So this doesn't mean you're suddenly spamming everyone with the Reanimation Protocols. This means the 1 Reanimation Protocols you can use per turning point is used for free. Nice. So you still need to choose who you want to do it on. And, you know, it's still a tactical choice. But this way, you just don't spend the CP to do it, which is going to free up CP to do Relentless March or other things like that. Now, a quick note on the Flayed One operatives and why they needed +1 damage to both normal and crit damage. Let's go over to the Flayed One warrior here. Note that can you see it on the screen? Yes. They are 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 3/4, rending. Nice. And they have a special ability, which gives them 2 wounds at the beginning of every turning point. Okay? But we're looking at 5, 3 up, 3/4, rending. Now let's go to Gene Stealers. Okay? Rending clause. 5, 3 up, 4, 5, rending. And they have a 5 up invuln. And they have a permanent concealed. We all know that Gene Stealers were one of the boogeymen lists when the game first came out, and they're still acceptable. You know, nobody is looking at 10 Gene Stealers facing them down, or 8, I can't remember the amount you get in a fire team now, and thinking, oh, this would be an easy one. Everyone has that little twitch in the back of their brain that makes them say, ooh, let's hope they misplace, right? So, the fact that then, and they had good abilities within them, like within the datasheet, aside from just their hidden horror. But the fact that they also had better melee than Flayed Ones, who didn't get to ignore the shooting from vantage points, pretty big deal. So bringing Flayed Ones in line damage-wise with Gene Stealers, I think is a solid move. 2 thumbs up. Good. I still think Necrons are such an interesting one. Like, this is obviously my own issue, but I'm not even looking at the Compendium teams anymore as serious teams. I'm just, whenever I think of Necrons, I think, ooh, can't wait for the Kill Team to release. So. And then we get an interesting one down here. Replaced army lists. Over time, certain new army lists will be introduced that are designed to replace similar army lists from the Compendium. We recommend the newer army list replaces the older one where balance is concerned, particularly in an organised play setting such as a tournament. These army lists and their replacements are as follows. Forge World is replaced by Hunterclade. Thousand Suns is replaced by Warp Coven. Troop is replaced by Void Dancer Troop. Let's talk. Okay, so from a balance perspective, I suspect that in any sort of tournament setting, everyone was already doing this. And so because how am I finding out the rules? I'm on Wikipedia. So that's where everybody else is going to be as well, okay? Let's not pretend this doesn't exist. Let's not pretend we don't use it. Guys, I just went out, because as you know, I'm hyped on Age of Sigmar, right? I have the core rulebook right here. When I need to look up a rule, even this is brilliantly laid out, by the way, like genuinely an amazing book. I would recommend it to everyone. The fact that this somehow released or was in development at the same time as the Kill Team core book is insane. But when I need to look up a rule, I go to Wikipedia. Okay? Everyone is going to do exactly the same. for these. So I don't really find the moral stance of, but where can I get the rules, valid. I agree with it in concept, because where do you buy a white dwarf if it's not the month that that white dwarf is available? But I don't know, man. Just be realistic. We go online. Yeah. I don't know what to say. So I'm not going to take that as a thing that is a negative. And I do think that anyone playing in a tournament that cares about how well they do, and therefore will presumably do well, is already going to use the specialist team. Well, I mean, obviously we don't know what the Void Dancer troop does yet, but... So, I actually don't have an issue with this, because I think anyone that cares was already picking those teams. And if you don't care, then who cares, because you're probably not going to podium. And so it didn't really matter what you took, and you wanted a nice, easier game. Also, do note that something we have here is... What am I saying? Right, so they've only done this with a select few. And they've gone into the future. They've gone into the Void Dancer troop. So it's not like this is 6 months behind. What they're saying with this is that it's okay to play Vet Guard and Imperial Guard. They're fine with that. It's okay to play Commandos and Greenskins. Those are both valid because they are giving you different fantasies. They have a different faction fantasy, a different... Yeah, I'm going to stop saying the word fantasy. But, for example, Worm Cults as well, because some people just want to run the Acolytes. Because they're like, oh yeah, you know, like, this is my 3rd generation GC the Cult team. They're all the Acolytes and stuff. Whereas the Worm Cult are actually very different. They're a few characters, you know, something else. Likewise, the Sisters, Novitiates, completely different. Pathfinders, completely different. Thousand Suns and Warp Coven, they're the same team, just one has better rules. Forge World and Hunterclade, straight up, Hunterclade is just better because you get what in the Forge World costs you a CP for free. Obviously, we don't know what Troop and Void Dancer Troop does yet. But that's it. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for watching. This has been interesting. I like it. I like that we're getting a balanced data slate. Obviously, this is cool. What are we missing from it? I am interested to see what happens to Pathfinders, and I'm gonna stan it. I'm gonna be a custo. I'm gonna be a Talons simp. I would have liked to have seen Talons of the Emperor go back to 4 APL. Yeah. There you go. Now, I don't think it was a mistake for GW to lower the APL of Talons, Custodes. I think that was the right choice at the time. Because, for every possible reason, I think that was a good decision. But I think that as a community, we are now ready, and we have the tools we need in other factions and the community experience we need to know how to play better to have Talons return, Custodes, sorry, return to 4 APL. Do not give them Brotherhood of the Demigods back. That nerf was fine. But they should have 4 APL. Anyway, thank you for coming to my Kill Team TED Talk. I hope you've had a good day. Continue to have a good day. Goodbye.